know that we fall all the time. We had a spiritual attack on us as a podcast.
Y'all had a spiritual attack on you all?
I feel like it was.
Like, what happened?
It's basically related to me. I feel when you say it because I saw it affect you. And it not only affected me, not only affected you, but it affected my home. I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering addict. May 11th would have been 7 years. I had a relapse. I totally felt the presence of the darkness. And one of the points that I wanted to cover was a spiritual awakening, especially a faith-based awakening, is beautiful. But you have to understand, in time, you're going to be challenged. Or you're going to encounter moments that are going to really challenge that. Like, how deep is your love? And how much do you really believe in God? From my personal experience, I lied to my girl, and I haven't lied to her at all. I really did feel like I was trying to get taken out. I mean, look at what we have. This should be more than enough to keep me on track. But it wasn't. And that's my pride. That's my human error. I failed at prayer. I failed at trusting God. So instead, I went back to what I knew. But I also realized that sometimes we take a fall so we can learn how to get back up. But also, we have to leave some people behind. Some people don't serve us. Or some people can't come with us in this new hip hop. I'm that overthinker. I want to know exactly what's going on. And that's, again, pride.
That's what gets you into those spots.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fear. My main thing is fear. From your perspective, what would you say on what happened?
I mean, I think you said it perfectly. You started to question God because it's always like, well, I'm doing everything right. When's it going to work? And it's not based on when you think it's right.
You have to put your faith.
You still have lessons to learn and you don't know it yet because you think you're going through the motions. You're almost just going through the motions. You're not feeling it all the way inside. He knows that. People who have been through these things can see it. And knowing what we do, this is what we do. We're trying to bring awareness. We're trying to do it in a fun way. Sometimes it gets super serious. Sometimes the topics are a little bit not as serious. This rocked me. We're working on something good and we're trying to create something for the betterment of the world. As small as the podcast is, I told him what we're doing isn't what the algorithm is wanting.
Yeah.
We're going against the grain. We're going against what the devil's trying to put out to everyone. It's going to be a slower push, but we're going to get there. Even through all that, I was doubting. That's why I say the spiritual world.
The Ruffled Feathers Podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We are here on episode 15
Yes, sir.
of the Ruffled Feathers Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us yet again. We took a little time off, but we're back. I'm your host, Bird, tattoo artist of 15 years, self-taught, self-made, with my truth-seeking co-host, Pablo.
What up, good people?
What's up,
Good to
Pabs?
be back. What's up, Jade? Hi.
Hello.
Our guest of the week, Jade.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Also a fellow artist.
Yes.
Yes.
I am a photographer first and a sculptor second.
Yes.
Yes.
Very nice.
Sculptor of metals too.
A little bit.
Or however you say that.
A little bit.
Metallurgist.
She's that's a name though. Would it be like a forger?
No, that's different.
It's like making swords?
No, that's different. I don't know anything about that.
Blacksmith?
I know stuff about bronze.
Yeah.
Bronze. Yeah.
So do you have a studio that you work at? Or?
No, just at school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So one day.
Yeah, one day.
In the future.
Yeah, I probably could intern at a foundry maybe, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably outside. And it's Texas.
Yeah.
And you're pouring like hot metal.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe I could work in the wax room. Maybe the wax.
You can do it.
it.
You can do it.
You never know what God has in store for you.
I just heard your survival skills. You can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for joining us. Before we started the show, we were just talking about your little endeavor on the streets of Houston.
Oh, we're gonna use that if you don't mind.
I don't know. I was looking for like a little story to just start off the show, and I read an article. I don't know if y'all have heard this story about this Australian woman who almost murdered a whole family with mushrooms.
She went on a poisoning spree.
What kind of mushrooms?
Death cap mushroom.
What?
She's an Australian lady.
What was her MO?
Well, okay, so I read the whole article this morning because I'm a connoisseur of mushrooms, if you will, or I used to be. And now I just eat a couple magic mushrooms, small dosages,
Micro
just
dose.
open
Like a
my
microdose, yeah.
open my brain waves a little bit, which I should have done this morning. Or did I? No, I didn't. But yeah, and that's why the story caught my attention, because she's divorced. invited her divorced family over for lunch because she wanted to tell them that she had cancer and she wanted to know what she should do with her kids about telling them.
Wow.
So she's like telling her ex-husband, like, because he declined. He's like, nah, he's like, I'd rather just talk about it on the phone. You know, we're kind of going through some stuff, you and I. But his parents and his sister go with her husband, and she's hooking them up with the beef Wellington with like green beans and mashed potatoes.
Oh
And
my goodness
man.
gracious.
yeah, and she hooks it up, and they even make comments like, "Oh wow, like man, this was good, like
so good.
yeah.
You've really outdone yourself.
Right." So she's hooking them up. This is her new house, first house since the divorce. So, and they were all kind of like, "Oh well, she never really invites us anywhere." Yada yada yada.
That should have been red flag number 1.
Even one of the guests is like, "Oh man, you must have ran out of plates because there was a separate plate for her, and then they had their plate of beef Wellington."
Red flag number 2.
Red flag number 2.
It's like,
Everyone.
was she gonna eat just a salad?
Right? No. She ate with them, and everyone goes home that night. Everyone starts to get diarrhea, starts vomiting. Long story short, 3 of the 4 people end up dying within 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
The one that survived, he's the one kind of recounting some of the red flags in hindsight, because it's 2020, right?
Started doing the math.
Yeah. And so now it's become a big story in Australia. It's like OJ Simpson over there.
Oh my goodness.
Story type shit. Like,
So is she caught?
Yeah.
oh yeah, she's been arrested. She lied to the cops about foraging for mushrooms, about owning a dehydrator.
Oh, so she premeditated this.
I mean, that's how it's looking.
That's how it looks, yeah.
Because
Unless she does it to other people.
well, no. What's wild is even in Australia right now, I guess the health department or whatever was noticing more of the death mushrooms over there, and they even had like an announcement like be
watch
careful,
out for these, yeah.
be careful. And she
Did
lied
that
to
grow in
police.
the wild?
Yeah,
Mm.
she
Oh
lied
my
to the police
goodness.
that she foraged these. She said she bought them at like a little Chinese or a Chinese market, and you know, that's how she's like.
Like I didn't know.
Yeah, and then she complained of having some stomach pains the next day, and the ex-spouse was like, "We need to go to the hospital because everyone got hospitalized." So he's thinking, yeah, it was
Like you
something
too.
happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then he's like, "We need to check the kids," because she said the kids had leftovers. And then she's just like, "Oh no, I didn't. They didn't eat any of the vegetables. Like they don't eat vegetables, and they."
It's too strategic, man.
yeah.
Wow.
So
That's awful.
yeah.
Like,
and I always try to play 2 sides of the coin. Like, could have been an accident. Could you get scared when the cops are like, "Well, what happened?
Yeah.
Why are they sick? Fuck, I foraged for mushrooms." Like, no, I just bought these mushrooms. Like, I could do that.
yeah, because
kind
like
of in
under
fear.
high stress situations, yeah, you kind of like clam up and
And you don't want to admit you might have killed someone on accident
Yeah.
Right.
by getting.
Or just the thought of being caught up in that mess.
Yeah.
But it's like what you said. It seems very strategic, but it just makes me wonder, like, what was like, why? Like, was it the fact that the husband was divorcing her? She didn't want that, like, and she was just trying to like she must have felt some kind of pain so deep within her where she was like, I need to share this pain and take it out on others.
Well,
You know what I
within the
mean?
story, they talked about like getting onto child support and then started to get that route. As from what I understood, he was the main provider. She was a homemaker, so she didn't have necessarily a job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that had some of the intention in it. But like I said, like I want to try to see, all right, is she innocent? And it was just a fucking horrible accident, or was this premeditated?
Yeah.
But everything.
It sounds like it's premeditated.
Oh no, it seems like too many coincidences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads me to I guess the biggest part that trips me out is I don't feel like people want to open their eyes right now and kind of understand that a lot of this isn't random. A lot of the happenings aren't so random that there's like a spiritual war happening.
Absolutely.
Of intention and not even intention, sometimes persuasion of a force that we can't see, right? Like something's in the air, you know, it's in all the movies, like there's something here, like I can, you know, like I feel that's real.
Like they're putting it right in your face. Yeah, but oh, it's just a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, but is it part of an agenda, right? Like is it like a form of manipulation, mind control, influence, or controlled what is it?
Chaos.
Like influenced behavior. Right? And I'm all totally about the demonic possession or influence, demonic influence, because I think we have been desensitized through the movies, through the cartoons, through the music, you know, even the food, the stuff they put in the food. So I think all of that accumulates.
I guess you have to ask yourself, are people capable of good? Are they good people naturally? Or are we bad people naturally? Or are we more just like a neutral putty? And then you can create whatever comes out of it.
Well, I mean, think about like when a baby is born. You know, I don't inherently think babies are just born evil. I think it's like whatever influences you over the years. But then again, I don't know. There's some like creepy kids out there who do like be on some creepy things. But like what you just said, it kind of, y'all remember that serial killer, the Night Stalker?
It sounds familiar.
Ricky Rodriguez or something like that. He it was like in the 80s. He would literally like go into people's houses and like kill them. Like yeah, there was like a whole documentary about him, the Night Stalker.
I mean, there's a lot of crazy serial killers.
But there was a interview he did, and he was literally somebody asked him like, what compelled you to do those things? Yeah, that guy, Richard Ramirez. Yeah, he did an interview where basically somebody asked him like, what compelled you to do that? And he was literally saying how he believes that, you know, everybody has, you know, this bad energy in them, and it was almost just like he kind of felt more connected by it. I can't really regurgitate exactly what it was that he was saying, but
something along that line.
But he was very straightforward, where he was just like, he believed like, you know, everybody is capable of doing these bad things, and for him himself, he just happened to, I guess, resonate with that side of himself more.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure like what his childhood was like and stuff like that, and maybe that led him to have a more darker path, because you know how they say people who live like harder lives, like, you know, abuse and things like that, they're gonna have like a rougher outlook on the world. Like even as a kid, like, you know, if it's this bad for me as a kid, like how's it gonna be for me when I'm an adult?
It's like the whole pit bull thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, pit bulls are evil animals, but 9 times out of 10, the pit bulls that were attacking people were pit bulls that were treated like shit.
Yeah, like how they were raised.
Right, how they were raised,
or
were
taught
fighting
to fight.
dogs.
Yeah.
But you know, my pit bull, he's
sweet as can be.
He's the sweetest thing,
monster,
great protector.
But he's a teddy bear.
Right, he's a teddy bear. So I feel like we're all putty. Like, I mean, I'm a little more putty, but you know, like you can mold based off of your upbringing, but you're still moldable to change that if you find the right like people to hang around with, or the right groups, or you're watching the right stuff. Because the reason I talk about the spiritual battle so much, and I think why we have the podcast and why it's so important to us, is because there's a lot of people that are trying to be good people, trying to, you know, do the right thing. There's B that are naturally trying to be evil, trying to go steal from people. And then there's everybody in the middle. And to me, everybody in the middle is where we're trying to reach, because those are the people that are going to get influenced by evil unintentionally, unknowingly, unwillingly. And by the time they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they have completely lost whatever side of north is.
Yeah.
And
well, also I think it's harder to change when you're adapted to a certain.
That's true.
You know, as an older person, you know,
people are stuck in their ways.
Yeah, bad habits or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, me personally, I believe that we are capable of both. And I mean, we could choose to wake up one morning and go shoot up something.
Yeah.
You know, or the neighbor, or just to say, hey, let's see how it feels, you know?
Yeah.
But we also have the God sense of the good, you know, the light, which is kind of like, I feel like I have the grace of that, you know, because I've done I've done my share of evil and my share of lying, manipulation, I guess take advantage of other people, in my uprising. And I feel like that part of my life was kind of subconscious because I wasn't really like awakened or aware, or what do you call it? Conscious, But it did kind of like in my 20s, like, it was actually through drugs, I was doing cocaine that I snapped. And I had this like sense of like, I'm really up in here, like I'm really here. And then you just realize the potential of the power of a human being and what you could do, like your words of the soul, because your words have power, it's like going back to the baby. How are you going to talk to the baby? I think they've done experiments on plants where like you talk to the plant sweet and the plant blooms. You talk to it all evil and it just
it dies.
So I think that's the beautiful part of being human, that we have the free will to choose, like, okay, and I mean, I think like, I still feel like I have darkness. I still feel like I have my share of that, but I want to be good. I can't say I'm good, right? Because only God is good, but you have people that are on your corner that say, hey, you are good, or you do things and it's hard to accept. But for someone like this, it's kind of like, man, like, what happened? Like, cause like Jared, I think on one of the episodes, I think, it was during that, at the show where we met, where I asked him about Bill Gates and he said necessary. And it really stuck to me, cause it's like, man, there is necessary evil, because it's kind of like, think about it. Like, obviously God's the main, fabricator, right? Like God's the creator. So he knows what he's doing. We can't understand that. Like our minds aren't made, like he purposely made it to where we can't understand the divine, right? But in the space that we occupy, is it necessary? Like, does there have to be a balance of good and bad, right? Like that's my question. Because it's like, we can't help but see it. It's everywhere. And it seems like evil rules the world, right? Like I think that's a confident statement.
I would say so. Because it's not just here in the United States. It's like all around the world.
It's worldwide.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's watch this video. We have a little clip. We use it in an episode, but it's such a powerful thing because this talks to the people in the middle. And this is like where I feel like the messaging needs to be voiced to. Not so much people who are already Christians, but even then, or just faith believers, because even then we need an update, like, oh yeah, just keep in mind,
like a reminder.
Right.
So let's play.
Because I mean, and just to not to cut you short, but it is a good point to see it like that as a reminder, because the more that we practice it, the more that we exercise it, the more we lean to that, right? And I think that's why we're so open, because of the media and like now social media is bigger than TV. But okay.
But it's exposing the reality, which is something like, we worship the devil. Like most of the culture worships the devil, objectively, right? It's like, well, what I mean is that if you have a culture, by the way, this is what Anton LaVey said. So Anton LaVey, the founder of the Satanic Church in the 1960s, he said, you all worship the devil, you just don't know it. He said, I'm just telling you what you already are, which is that if you worship greed and money, and if you worship desire, and if you worship power, you're just a Satanist. You just don't know it. And so that has played in through culture to a point where obviously Sam Smith is probably not smart enough to think about it consciously, but unconsciously he realizes that image of the devil is the image for us today. Right? It is the representation of our culture more than anything else. And so it just bubbles up. It kind of becomes inevitable.
Interesting outfit.
That's heavy.
The reason I like that video because it's that unintentional, right?
Yeah, like the money, the power, the desire,
the fame.
It reminds me of desires of the flesh. And that's something I personally try to put more into practice these days, is like not giving into those temptations. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's challenging, especially when you've been living your life a certain way for so many years, and then you have like a spiritual awakening. You're just like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. And it's just but
you can still fall back to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We deal with that. That's why, in all honesty, that's why we had a little hiatus, because we always try to reiterate, like when we speak here as just regular people, I know I'm not, I know he's not, we're not trying to speak from points of authority. We're trying to just speak as other people who are going through life just the same.
An experience.
An experience. And I might just feel like I'm more aware to know the importance of what we're talking about, but I want to just bring the conversation more up front to the people. That way we can all be aware together and learn together and try to be better together, but know that we fall all the time. You know, we had a spiritual attack on us as a podcast and as a
unit. As a unit.
Yeah, as a unit.
Y'all had a spiritual attack on y'all?
I feel like it was. I mean,
like what happened?
So it's basically related to me, but I feel when you say it, because I saw it affect you, you know, but it not only affected me, not only affected you, but it affected my my home, you know, because I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering addict. May 11th would have been 7 years.
Oh, wow.
But I had a relapse like about a month ago, 2 months ago, you know, and it was heavy, but it was disgusting, right? Like I totally felt the presence of the darkness and I just didn't feel the same, but it's also like kind of how you said, because one of the points that I wanted to cover was that a spiritual awakening, especially a faith-based awakening, is beautiful. But you have to understand, right? Like in time, you're gonna be challenged. You're gonna encounter moments that are gonna really challenge that. Like how deep is your love for God, or how much trust do you have, and how much do you really believe in God?
It's like your shoulder angel, shoulder devil.
Right.
Yeah. Whisper in your ear.
From my personal experience, you know, I lied to my girl, and I haven't lied to her at all. We've been together almost 3 years, and I just learned not to lie, and it took me my whole life to be like that, you know, even little things, even little white lies.
Same. I completely understand where you're coming from. I've never had addiction issues, but I do have people in my inner circle who have struggled with addiction, so I'm familiar with that.
So it affects others, you know. It's a ripple, right? So just to keep it in the subject, I had a really bad cocaine addiction for about 12 years, you know? Like, I mean, I was an addict for 12 years of cocaine. I've been an addict since I was 16 because I was smoking weed, alcohol, you know? But cocaine is the one that really drove me to the ground. So, you know, I really did feel like I was trying to get taken out, you know, because, I mean, look at what we have.
Yeah.
You know, like this should be more than enough to keep me on track. But it wasn't, you know, and that's my pride. That's my human error. That's my openness to like, I failed at prayer. I failed at trusting God, you know, because instead of like being like, okay, I feel like doing cocaine, I should be still, pray, do some push-ups, call Bird, call a friend. I failed. So instead I went back to what I knew, you know, and I personally do believe that it's doom scrolling, kind of self-denial, because that's really what helped me to do those 6 years. The denying of the flesh, you know, whether it's sexual, whether it's food, whether it's sugar. And I mean, you know, sugar was my next to cocaine, you know, and I think that kind of led into that, you know, and I think as conscious humans in the world that we live in today, we know sugar is a poison to us, but yet it's in everything we eat.
And a lot of people are faced with when it comes to food specifically, if it doesn't taste good, they don't want to eat it.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, a lot of those taste good things are just full of bad stuff for us.
Right. But it also like physically attacks our brains, our thoughts, you know, it transfers over to the spirit, you know? So, you know, from your perspective, what would you say on what happened? You know, like from your...
I mean, I think you said it perfectly. You started to question God. Because it's always like, well, I'm doing everything right. When's it gonna work? And it's not based on when you think it's right.
You have to put your faith.
Yeah, you still have lessons to learn sometimes, and you don't know it yet because you think you're going through the motions, but you're almost just going through the motions. You're not feeling it all the way inside, and you know he knows that. People who have been through these things can see it, you know, because just like his addiction, I never got that far, but I was addicted to ecstasy for a good while in my late teens, early 20s. and to the point where we're popping 6-7 tabs a night,
Damn.
going for 3 or 4 days straight.
Holy moly!
But still functioning,
Yeah.
still managing stores, still going to work on time.
And just for those who don't know, what does ecstasy do to you, right? Like, from my understanding, and you can correct me, or like you're probably more knowledgeable. I know that it releases a certain chemical, right?
MDMA.
So whatever, like our body naturally releases it like drop by drop. And I think when you do ecstasy or hard drugs like that, it kind of opens the gate, right?
It feels what it's called.
Yeah.
It feels what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Euphoric.
Very euphoric. Yeah. I did it a lot when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would never say I was addicted to it, but it's like I went to a lot of raves, like in 2012, 2011, like that time.
Era.
Like, yeah, there was a lot. The rave scene in Houston was a lot bigger, like the underground rave scene, like not all these big festivals and stuff, but
right. No,
yeah, I used to go to those a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Numbers and
not that late.
No, not Numbers.
Yeah.
There was this place called Kryptonite.
Okay.
And it
yeah.
was and it was literally like this underground like tunnel. I think Harvey happened and it flooded and they never opened it again.
It was like Blade in there.
Hey,
Yeah.
God knows what he does. But
but basically ecstasy is just like it's an intensifier of every sense. Your sense of touch, your sense of feel, like you're just the music.
You're just so heightened.
Everything's heightened. You create like these bonds with people as if
like you've known them your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very superficial, but in the moment it feels so fucking real.
And I like how you said superficial because that is the physical. We're satisfying the flesh. And that's the separation. That's what separates us from God. Because we are, I mean, it's inevitable. Like God understands that, the flesh is powerful. The flesh calls for things and the flesh calls for pleasures and vices or whatever you want to call it, So I think that's, fits right with this. And I think, as teens, we're not thinking like that,
Right.
As teens, we're grown, we know what we're doing.
And everyone tells you like, don't do drugs, but it's like, I mean, I was pretty rebellious as an adolescent. Yeah.
Same,
So,
obviously.
So it's just like, don't do drugs. Like, maybe just a taste.
Well, I popped my first X pill when I was 14 or 15. And then from there, we stole my buddy's mom's cigarettes at like 12. We started smoking weed at 12 or 13 because it was just like, it was the whole forbidden fruit thing. It was just like, no, don't. It's so bad. And then when we tried, we're like, that was great. Why is that? Why is that bad? Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And, obviously I didn't know it now, but, because I'm always self-analyzing myself and my imperfections and even just conversations I had. And I know back then I was dealing with situations that happened to me when I was young. So those were, especially drugs for me, leaving this reality into that reality was a way to just vacation from real life. And then, that vacation turned into a, short homestay. And then that short homestay turns into, you can get this Airbnb for 2 months. And then, I was there. So it just progressed and progressed. And luckily for me, I just had the wherewithal to see friends becoming addicts, people overdosing, me getting bad drugs and, feeling like shit. And then being like, all right, I think this train's stopped for me.
And it's crazy. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's crazy how now too, with that new drug, fentanyl, it's like in almost everything. And it's almost like, it's kind of weird to say, but it doesn't seem like drugs are as safe as they used to be.
I mean, they're even putting it in weed. Like that's when you're like, okay, like what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
So it's like,
that was the fear for you when you're on your relapse and knowing you were going through and knowing what we do. Like, this is what we do. Like, we're trying to bring awareness. We're trying to do it in a fun way. Sometimes it gets super serious. Sometimes the topics are a little bit, not as serious. Today's topic, just because of what happened to be. Sorry, we'll get you on a more fun episode.
Oh no, I don't care. No, like I'm here for the tough conversations.
Yeah.
And
no, but also, I mean, it's like it's real. Like to me, it's more important. It's real because it's like some people get caught up in that epoch. Some people never leave that. Some people get like they love this time of their life so much that they just can't get out of it. So they don't advance, they don't progress, they don't mature, they don't grow, you know. And I think that is a spiritual attack, because the devil wants you poor in spirit, poor in thought, you know. So it's like, it's fun, you know. I mean, obviously in moderation. If I could do cocaine, if I could do one line, I know I can't, you know. But it's like, also like, I wouldn't take it back, because what I've been through, like, I mean, so just to kind of what is it, like, make it, just to put it in perspective, like, my addiction was horrible, because I don't party, I don't hang around people, I isolate myself, I go to the cheapest, shittiest, darkest motel and just do myself, you know. Like, I just do the drugs for myself, and like, I'm paranoid, I'm nervous, like, it's not fun, it's not fun, but it's like, you know, why, you know. And I was chasing that dragon, I was chasing that high, and it wasn't the same, you know. And I mean, I you know, I encountered shady people that had shitty drugs, so I could have had an overdose, I could have had fentanyl, you know. But like, by the grace of God, it's like, man, you know, I see other people overdose, they try one line and overdose, a hot shot they call it, I believe.
Oh my goodness.
So I question God in there, like, damn, why them and not me, you know. And maybe subconsciously sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I'm unaliving myself, you know. Like, I've never been like that, but when I'm there and I see, like, damn, I let Bird down, damn, I let my company down, or I let my girl down, I lied to my girl, like, man, you know, my family, like, you know. So then I'm like, I can't get out of this, so just keep going. So that's demonic. To me, that's demonic. To me, that's them pulling me from God and not trusting in God, you know. And then also the following, like what follows, you know, because I was like, man, how's Bird gonna look at me? How's my girl gonna look at me? You know, how
that
my sister?
shame, almost,
yeah. And then, you know, I got judged, you know, like one of my sisters hella judged me, and you know, haven't heard from her since then. And it's okay. Like, I definitely feel some kind of way, but that's my pride. But I also realize that sometimes, you know, we take a fall so we can learn how to get back up, but also we have to leave some people behind. Some people don't serve us, or some people can't come with us in this new epoch or this new timeline.
Maybe she felt that way about you, like,
right?
Even though you're my brother, you're my blood, like, I feel like having you in my life, like, it's not. Yeah.
And it's okay.
It's not adding value.
And it's okay, you know. And I struggle with these thoughts, because I'm like, it's in my responsibility, it's in my duty to serve my sister. Like, I gotta love her, I gotta, like, work harder, like, maybe not, you know, or maybe we just need a little space for now.
It's like, she still wants you to eat, just not at her table right now.
You know, and maybe that's the case, maybe not, right? But I'm that overthinker that I'm like, I want to know exactly what's going on, and that's, again, pride.
But that's
but also
what gets
fear.
you into those spots.
Yeah,
in the first
exactly,
place.
and it's fear. And I think my main thing is fear. You know, like, I'm a what is it?
Catastrophic.
I catastrophize everything, right? Like, I always expect the worst outcome of things. And I think that's fear. Again, separation from God, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But to me, life is beautiful. God has been very beautiful to me and very gentle with me. So I claim God. You know, I do struggle with religion, and I was born and raised Catholic. I kind of, like, came back to the Catholic. Like, my recovery, those 6 years happened because of a Catholic I guess influence, you know. So I love the Catholic religion, right? Like, it's like a romantic, beautiful, it has a lot of good stuff, you know, but I'm more into the faith, I'm more into the relationship, you know.
Yeah, the relationship, yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, because even through all that, like, I was doubting, you know. That's why I say the spiritual war, because he went through that, and it was just like a shock. I was like, fuck. I was like, I'm one of those people, because of my history of everything that I've been through, I'm never going to judge anyone unless you physically treat me a certain way. Then
repeat it.
Then I'll be, you know, then we'll have problems, right? Outside of that, I lived so much in my 20s and teens trying to just, like, one up or buck up to people or challenge people. I was like, that's left my body. That's left my system. So now I'm just such more of a I'd rather just hear you out, and if you come to me as a person, I mean, I've had a guy steal $800 from me with using a fake credit card and a tattoo.
Goodness.
But because over time he came to me, he paid me back, and he apologized face to face, I tattooed him again. Obviously, he had to pay up front, but
but I mean, that is big.
But that's the type of person I've become, seeing everything I've seen throughout my life, but this rocked me. because I've I was like, we're working on something good, and we're trying to create something for the betterment of the world and for my kids' future, for everyone's future. As small as the podcast is, I told him, because he's, we've had conversations like, oh, dude, it's not, these videos aren't hitting like, we're putting so much hard work into them. I'm like, but realize, like, what we're doing isn't what the algorithm is
wanting.
wanting. We're going against the grain. We're going against what the devil's trying to put out to everyone. So it's gonna be a slower push, but we're gonna get there. But I know it's hard because he's in a different circumstance than I am, just where he is in his whole trajectory. So I'm always aware of that too. And but still, like, that whole spiritual thing, it was just like, that's why we took off the time. And I was just like, man, I need to, like.
And it's okay to take time for yourself too. Like, I always say, the rest is just as important as the work. And one thing about addiction too that my best friend has said, because she struggled a lot with alcohol, and she's always said, like, one aspect of addiction is relapses are going to happen. And that's why it's imperative that you have a strong support system and people who understand that they go into, like, being friends with you or having a relationship with you, and you're upfront about, like, the struggles you've had with addiction. And as long as they're willing to recognize, like, okay, like, relapse can happen. Can I handle that? Like, that can really make or break, like, having people in your life. And I think as long as you have, like, a strong support system, like, you're going to be fine. No, and I can tell you're a very strong individual.
Thank you.
Strong-minded.
Thank you. I try, and that's by the grace of God. Like, 100%, I give that to God. And I do feel blessed, and that's why this time is more spiritual, because I felt the darkness, but I also felt, like, the life, the light, the
Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit, right? Like you're my son. Like, I love you. Like, come back to me. And I think, like, just that simplicity, like, just give yourself to God. He'll take care of the rest. But just to put it on record, like, I want to apologize to you, Bird. Like, say I'm sorry, because on my behalf, like, I know the damage that it does, and I know the severity and the magnitude of my actions, And also I want to say thank you for believing in me, for, supporting me, and for, like, I see, like, you changed. So in a way, like, it helped you too, So I'm always a firm believer that sometimes the blessings happen at dark, and we think, oh man, it's a curse, or like, oh, I fucked up. But sometimes, man, it's about how you get up and how you respond, right? But also I want to apologize to all of you, because this is my job, and, like, I've been working since I was 16 years old, and I've never been happy. I don't have anything to show for it, but every time that it's God related, or every time that's life given, I feel fulfilled. I feel like literally filled, So this is what I want to do with my life. I want to meet people like you, and you look very young. I don't know if you're willing to share your age, but for somebody that young to get to God is powerful, especially in today's day and age.
That's
I'm 32.
True.
Okay, I mean, that is young.
But I was, like, a little, degenerate for a long time. Yeah, definitely was just like, anytime somebody would talk about God, I'd be like, pish posh, like, whatever. Like, how do you know? Like,
Stupid.
Like, how do you know Jesus was real? You weren't there. Like, and now I completely understand. It's like, that's where your faith comes in and stuff.
That's the blind faith. Well, you look 22.
Well, thank you. I got it from my mama.
Thanks, Mom. But, I mean, like, we are, and, you are a beacon of light, because it's like, people need to see that. Like that's why we try to keep it real and be ourselves, because we will relate to a specific group, or like, we could relate to people that are, like, behind us, like, younger, and, because, like, I remember, like, I was always looking up at the older people, right? Like, I never really related with people my age, But now, for some reason, my friends are younger. If that makes sense.
I totally get what you're coming
But it's
from.
also people like that, like, that are, like, level-headed, are mature and spiritually mature,
and just
really,
open-minded
and awakened. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think too, have you ever seen that one podcast, the Whatever podcast, where they have, like, all the chicks from, like, OnlyFans and stuff like that, and a lot of them, they, like, they claim to be, like, followers of Christ and things like that, and they, like, debate just about, like, how can you do that But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it just kind of reminds me of just, not having like the proper guidance and stuff, because that's just another thing about the world right now, and the internet is just how much that industry has just completely exploded.
Well, that's the that's
No,
you
you're
segued
right
us,
on it,
you
trust me.
segued us into our second
That was our second
topic, because look, man,
beautiful.
As a man who's not perfect, I'm wired to appreciate women. I just I can't, like, I tell my wife too. I was just like, because we had our issues when we first started out, because again, the natural lust and just enjoyment and liking the attention. I told her, it's just like, it's like when you see me driving with you, and I will point out, oh look, it's a '67 Mustang, or oh look at that rat rod. Like, who cares? I'm like, that's just how guys see women too.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh wow. It's not so much, let me go touch and test drive it. It's just more like, look.
Yeah.
But now,
appreciation, right? You can appreciate like God's beauty, you know. I mean,
but that to me is more the natural part, right? But what's happening now online is it's becoming just everyone just trying to sell the perfect angle, the little dance, wearing the right clothes.
It's so oversaturated.
Yes.
And it's everywhere. Whether it's something that's rated PG-13, but it's still like not, because why you have to dance like that? Or why do you have to have the shorts that short? And again, it's destroying both sides. It's destroying not only the girl creating the content, but it's destroying the guys watching it.
And I think for somebody who used to be like that, me personally, like I used to be like that, and I don't think it came from a place of like woman empowerment, or like, I think I know I would tell myself like, oh, I dress like this for myself, I don't do it for like male validation and blah blah blah. But I think at the time I didn't really even understand the words I was saying.
Right.
Like what even is male validation? You know what I mean? And so being, 20 something years old and saying these things, and then taking a step further and actually working like in the sex industry, because like I was a dancer at one point.
Okay.
And I did that for maybe like 2 years, maybe like 2.5, like because COVID, and I came back a little bit after COVID, and just being in that atmosphere and wearing the cute little outfits and stuff like that, and just being around all these other women who took it way more seriously. And I don't know, like just something about it just seems like it catches like women's attention, and it's almost just like they want a taste of it. And I think that's essentially what I wanted. And then after really experiencing it, and then seeing how it affected everybody around me, and seeing what it was doing to me internally, it was just like, this isn't good. Yeah. This isn't good. Yeah. And
so if you don't mind, can you elaborate more on that internal feeling? Like, what was it making you feel? What was it making you think?
Did you see anything while you were there?
Oh, yeah.
Were you noticing the demons?
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, think about it too. Sex work it's illegal. So where do you think people are going to go to get it? Or try to scout to find it.
Yeah. Right.
And so you see that there. And I guess I really didn't. What was your question?
Well, just did you notice these demons around that type of work, this type of environment? Did you see things that were happening? You're like, man, this is not going to be good for me.
I mean, I think in the moment, you kind of just like brush it off, because at the end of the day, I'm there to get money and stuff. But I guess just like the patrons and things like that, they kind of do objectify you. I mean, they're like, when you're on the stage, you're basically advertising yourself.
Right.
And then if you have people who want to hang out with you, they'll come tip you on the stage, and you go find them afterwards and stuff like that. But, essentially it almost seemed like, a dance like isn't enough. They are going to want more from you. And it was just like.
Also, like, the caliber of men that are there, right? Like, I mean, you're not gonna find a solid God-loving guy.
And these are mostly like married men. Most, like, almost all of them are like married men. And then COVID happened, and then that's when the OnlyFans industry really exploded, because all these clubs shut down, And so they needed another line of revenue. And I was just like, I am not doing that.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to put my body out there on the internet like
Permanently.
that.
Yeah.
Not like that. Like,
Yeah.
because I've always been very open with myself. And like, I have put pictures of myself, like just naked on the beach, but I blurred everything out.
Mhm.
Like, they're
Yeah.
not on there anymore. But everything was literally like just like blurred out, but never like that kind of stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. And so after seeing that, and just seeing how it's like progressed a lot just within, that was 2020 and now it's 2025, just like in the
like
last
that,
5 years. Yeah, it's just completely just taken over the internet. And then you have these accounts on TikTok where you have like the Bop House, where it's like these specific houses, like remember when there used to be like YouTube houses and stuff like
Mhm.
that? Now you have these OnlyFans houses, and
Yeah.
it's just a little bizarre to me how it's influencing women that are so young. And you know, it's almost like with the don't do drugs, you know, like, but you want to eat the forbidden fruit, you know, like, oh, it looks like they're having so much fun, they're so pretty, you know, they're getting all this attention, like, you know, I don't get that much attention in real life, but I could get this much attention online. And you know, it's almost like very, not so much like taboo, but it's just crazy how easy it can be to be influenced in that manner, because it's all like smoke and mirrors at the end of the day.
But it's like what's the right thing to do? You realize at a point you're like, okay, it's going too far.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, there's a lot of people who will make the victim out of the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
So like the guy that robbed a family and shot the father, and you know, this is the Bruce Wayne story, but but there are people who be like, yeah, well, that guy who killed him, he was hungry, he needed money, and then he got, you know, this is where he had to go,
which is what's happening right now.
Yeah, but
people are justifying crime.
Exactly, it's the justification.
Yeah.
It's just like, if it's easier to steal, then I should be doing it because I'm very intelligent. I know how to steal. I know how I could take advantage of people and not get caught. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I could go rob a bank.
Be more profitable.
Plan it out. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with this. It's like, if I were a girl, right, like, and blessed with the bosoms and the, you know.
Yeah. The bod.
There's a third B I was looking for. Sure, it's easy to go do that, but is that the right way to go? And what destruction is that doing, not only to your mental, but to your future? Mm-hmm. Because that's that whatever pod, a lot of these, that's the message these guys are trying to give these girls is like, yeah, it's easy now, but when you're in your 30s, 40s, like no dude's gonna want you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can it doesn't paint like a very good image of yourself. And something one of my ex-boyfriends would tell me, it's like a woman will always care about her future with a man, and a guy will always care about his girl's past or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know how true that is.
It makes some kind of sense. Well, I mean,
he would say that.
Yeah. I can attest to that, because you know, there's a whole, you know, you can't make a whole housewife.
Yeah.
It's that basically, right?
But in the club, you have all these like older men who are like Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah.
They literally are like, oh, you're too pretty to be doing this. Like, I want to take you away from this, and da. And it's kind of just like bro, like, just give me your money.
Right.
Yeah. And see, that's where I was gonna go with it, because I think that's another lane, the money, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, I was watching one interview where this guy spent like $250,000 on this one chick throughout like a span of 2 years, you know. So I think she had him on the podcast, and she was like kind of freaked out. She was kind of like, oh my god, like, I actually have a weirdo here, right? But it's not the first, right? Like these men in OnlyFans, like some of these girls are getting millions of dollars. So that means that guys are dropping money. Mm-hmm. I give you $4,000 to do this, and some stuff is pretty severe, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that is destroying that spirit. That destroys and harms that spirit deeply.
Oh yeah,
like we know we have wounds already from childhood. Our parents, they know how to raise us. They might have yelled at us too much. That's a wound, right? But now we have these kind of wounds, and these women think that they have value because they're worth millions of dollars. It's not, and it's a sad like thing to experience because, you know, on that whatever show, like I watch it a lot because it pops up on my feed. But one of the guys is really, I guess, more Christian, but he's prideful. Sometimes he's over, like, I'm Christian, so no matter what you say, I'm always going to be right. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I get what you're saying, but that's not the Christian way. Yeah. Right? That's not the way to go. You can agree to disagree. Yeah, but also, like, I mean, be more loving. Approach. That's not the approach. Right, that's the approach. Be more loving, be more respectful. Like it's kind of like, okay, if I were to meet a girl, you know, like, I would speak my mind, but I wouldn't insult her, or I wouldn't try to belittle her or limit her beliefs or her, you know, because the sad thing is that if you have millions of people doing it, it's fine because everybody's doing it. So it's kind of like a different perspective now. Like we have this, we're grown into this world where it's all superficial. It's all fake. It's not real, you know? So like values are out of the door. Standards are at an all-time low, right? Like you don't see people really living up to their standards.
But on the flip side to it, there is a big awakening happening. There are more Christians. There's even there's been like a massive surge in Muslims turning to Christianity. Oh wow! And it's stuff that doesn't get talked about, or even just the whole. We'll bring the election into it. How YouTubers and podcasters they can say are what helped get Donald Trump voted in, but in all honesty, it's more of like people are seeking honesty and truth and just bigger dialogue.
Genuinity.
Whether you agree with it or not, the whole point I think is there are people who are like, man, it's just, I mean, these are nice girls and stuff, but it's like, man, is this all it is? Oh, Puff Daddy? Oh shit. Like, oh wait, Beyonce too now, maybe, allegedly. Like, oh shit, she gave him beef Wellington and mushrooms and everyone's dead now. Like, I think people are kind of like having that shift because not only is the communication that we have with social media like at an all-time high where we can know everything instantly, which is good or bad.
It can be,
but
good.
It can be used for good too.
It could be a weapon for good, you know, a tool for good.
Didn't they want to ban TikTok? Like, what happened to that? You know, and was that a distraction? You know, from something bigger?
Well, the whole ban from TikTok was because the Chinese government has been already proven that through their electronics, they've been spying and taking intellectual properties from us.
What about Temu?
But that was another one they were banning.
They got exposed quick, I think.
So, but they had to change their whole setup to not be spying. There's even a hacker who goes after files, bleep that, online, and he found out that his little vacuum, the little Roomba, was downloading everything on his house to a Chinese server.
Come on.
What?
He even noticed a mop, like it was a digital mop that he had that like reminds him that connects to Bluetooth to clean the house.
Oh wow.
Same thing. So these are those things that there's literally things happening in front of us, but because we are so like, oh, what's this? Distracted. Oh, what's this over there? The real shit that's happening. This is where I put my mind in the weeds, is finding shit out like this. That's real, that's honest, that's happening. That's not so superficial of the, you know, the social media stuff or the celebrity stuff or because that is the matrix part. The part that I like to get aware to is like, well, what's the mechanics? What's the architecture? What's the engineer doing? And that's what the engineers are doing. They are creating the MK Ultra. They are creating the changing of history. They are creating the fake foods. They are creating the bad pharmaceuticals. They are creating,
and it's set at a full-time success rate right now.
Yeah, the success rate's high, but this podcast and many others like it, we're trying to fight the good fight, and we are going to get attacked, right? Whether it's online or in our own personal lives, and we like to bring on people that are always changing because every podcast is usually it's just the podcasters and then they tell their story. Our podcast, we want to be different and bring in new people all the time and return people and and continue having conversations, because the conversations are so vast and what we need to cover to like recover.
Well, it's like, to me, I really don't see another way, right? For me, because it's like my whole life since I was little, like my parents weren't very educated, right? Like my mom and my dad both, I think, have like a elementary level, like max, right?
Education.
Yeah, education. And also my dad was like a premature baby, so I think he had like what do you call that? Autism, or like whatever, little levels of whatever, right? Like in the spectrum for sure. So my dad's influence to me wasn't healthy. Like my dad told me, hey, you go through all the girls you can go through. And I was like, challenge
right
accepted.
on.
Yeah.
You know, and I did. I
Okay,
did.
papi.
But it was like, and that could have been a reason of my addiction, right? A reason, because like it didn't fill me up. It created a void or a hole, right?
Yeah, and well, that's another thing with those kind of desires is your brain does dump a bunch of like dopamine and serotonin when you're engaging in those type of behaviors. So it can become addictive.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's temporary, right? It's not. It doesn't last. Like when you care for someone, when you change, if you were able to influence a change in someone's life, that's forever. These are temporary, and like, man, like it's kind of like the Coke, you know, like you do a line, you're done in 5 minutes, you want more. So it's like that's the devil. That's the empty promises that the devil gives you. He's like, I can make you happy for 5 minutes, you know. So what I was going to was movies and music raised me. Like I can honestly say I learned most of my lessons from that, you know, and by the grace of God, I had the ability to determine this is good, this is evil, this is gray area, whatever, right? But now that I'm seeing like everything, like the karmic, whatever they call it, right? They have to put what they're doing to us in our faces in order for it to work, right? Like I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No.
You know what I'm talking about? So it's kind of like voodoo, witchcraft. Like it has to be out in the blue in order to fulfill or
have
to
like the
manifest.
Yeah.
You know,
they have to put their intentions out in public. You know, like as a Christian, we pray and you know, accept God's gonna do our will or what He feels is best. For them, is the opposite. Is like they have to put it out there, and then by them putting it out there, that gives them their power.
Yeah, like the energy like catches or something. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then by our dopamine, it resonates, and it we help them manifest it unintentionally, subconsciously, you know. Subjectively, is that what it is? Or what did he say? He said something, but what I mean is unintentionally.
He said objectively, we worship the devil. Like, so
now that all this is coming out, you know, like, you know, Beyonce, she was in my era, you know, like what's her other one? Knowles, not the other one, Kelly Rowland. She went to Lamar. You know, we went to high school together.
Really?
You know? Yeah. So it was kind of like, to me, it was kind of like, all right, we made it, you know. But then, you know, now that all this stuff is coming out, it's kind of like, obviously, I don't have proof that they're doing the dirt.
Yeah,
they're wrong.
Yeah.
But
allegedly, and there is no alleged allegations that we know of on Beyonce.
Right.
Just for the record.
Yeah. Maybe on her.
P. Diddy for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But, you know, P. Diddy had Biggie Smalls. You know, I was a Tupac fan, so it's kind of like, you know, they get killed. Like, did they get killed because they were doing some good? Did they get killed because they were going to expose? Like, you start to put the puzzle pieces together, right? So my influence was that. And I mean, it's kind of embarrassed to say it, right? But it's like those were my life lessons, you know. And like, there's movies that like resonate with me. That are like, oh man, I love this movie. You know, it helped me. And most of the time, you know, I mean, there's good movies, feel good movies, that you know. But even in that, you see some dark shit. Oh, yeah. You know.
Reminds me of like Studio Ghibli movies, Ghibli, whatever.
Which ones are those? I don't know.
Like Spirited Away and like Ponyo.
Like Angel production?
No, it's like anime.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's like anime, but there's always like deeper messages like hidden within them and stuff like. But some of them are dark. Yeah.
But animes, that's a whole different vibe of because it brings you full circle in the story.
Plus, it's Japanese, and they just have a different way of like communicating to their audiences.
Yeah.
Well, they believe in all those deities too, so it's a different culture.
But there is an anime series that's supposed to be kind of like an awakening one. I don't know what it's called, but it talks about like the spiritual and like the what do you call them? Not entities, but
deities.
Deities, yeah. I can't remember which one it is. I have to research it.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder what it's called.
Yeah, because I know one of the characters is like a tall, skinny dude with like a suit, just a shirt, which I'm sure they're.
I'm not saying you just name like
30
so
every
many
anime.
characters in so
Like
many
that.
animes.
I'll research it and we'll talk about it on
Yeah.
the next one. But stuff like that, because it's like music. Like you don't hear woke rap, you don't hear Christian rap as much as you hear booty bouncing and cars
Gangsta
and
shit.
money and drug dealing.
And what does that really say about you if you've never really resonated with that music to begin with? You know what I mean? Because like me personally, like I was never really that into hip hop. I think it's also just like the crowd I was influenced by too.
Yeah.
But like Beyonce, never really listened to her music.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing against her music. She's a great vocalist and everything, but like just
never got into that.
Just never
rabbit
really
hole.
got into that genre of music. And same with like trappy music and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it started with rock and roll, Zeppelin and the Beatles.
That's who I was really into in high school.
Yeah. No, and that's the whole thing is like it graduated to hip hop.
Yeah.
But it started back then because even Elvis Presley, the conservatives or the Christians are like, this is the devil's music.
The
like,
movements.
Because he's over here.
like the way he's like moving his hips and stuff.
Yeah.
But also, you were born in 93?
Yeah.
So see, you didn't get the good hip hop.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Yeah.
They did ruin it because
Yeah.
after Tupac and Biggie died, it was the mumble rap.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, honestly, from there, it was just like, oh man, like it seemed like an agenda. Like it seemed like it was like, okay, how do we dumb the people down?
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, we could watch a video, we're seeing it.
Have y'all heard about how they put like frequencies in the tracks of like music and it like keep, your brain hears it?
I've never tested it
Yeah,
to see if
neither.
it's true or not, but I've heard the story. I've heard it debunked, but I can't
prove it.
I can't verify that one.
See, I believe in that. I do believe in that because like
I know it's possible, but I don't know that it's being done.
Like, whenever the whole Travis Scott thing happened, his Astro World thing, there were people claiming that in the crowd, they heard like some type of frequency being played over the loudspeaker before he came on. And then whenever chaos ensued, people were calling, like the aftermath, people were calling this, like, was this actually like a sacrifice type of thing? Like,
that I believe.
Because a lot of people, I don't know how many people passed away, but I mean, there were a few.
Somebody was
people
injecting
that passed
people
away.
with something, right?
I don't know.
They were hitting them with like something in their neck. People said they were feeling like jabs.
But that's like also that idolization of people.
Yes.
Like people are so consumed by just like media and music and fashion and influence that we're idolizing these strangers.
All
essentially,
of the above.
like yeah,
These
sure
false gods, false prophets.
Well, even the bounce, the entrance of the thing was
it's portrayed. Is depicted off of a old satanic artwork. And
from the Bible too.
But the whole
right?
stage was a portal, and there was demons flying around.
Yeah.
I always feel a little weird when I see because I do like to go to concerts a lot, and when I see the fire, I'm just like, I feel weird.
Oh no!
I don't know about this.
I've hated crowds. I've never been to a concert because I'm claustrophobic for one, and I just don't like that. I don't know if it's the energy because like I have a sensitivity to energy. Like there's moments where like I either feel completely overwhelmed and like I feel everybody's energy and I just get like I shrivel up. Like I've had situations like that. No pun intended.
I'm sorry. This never happens. No.
Sometimes.
But that's why I like concerts too. Like when it's a good band. But that's why I told Jared, I was like, I'm not a fan of hip hop concerts because hip hop is a very studio genre. You have to be in the speaker. You have to, or at the mic. You have to be clear to hear your words. But in a stage, in a big crowd, they're just, and it's just like, this is
if
dumb.
you have a good audio engineer, who really is taking care of like the sound quality and stuff.
but you still get the echoes and
Yeah.
That's what they mostly ad lib, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's like a recording playing, you know.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
I've noticed that more and more concerts I go to, they play the song in the background and they just sing along with it. And I was just like, what kind of karaoke stuff is
Right.
this?
For one, if you're moving a lot, you do get winded, so it's
Yeah.
harder to keep your breath. But two, I think is that like
But
they
not
don't have
real
that
musicians,
potential.
dude.
Yeah,
Like-
right.
like,
Dude, they
I
need to
went
do
to
some
the-
cardio.
Yeah,
For
sure.
real.
Like Prince, I think Prince would perform live, you know, like
I
really
went to
perform
Muse,
it, yeah.
Muse in Toyota Center, and you could tell he was singing. The energy was like everyone was feeling his energy. It wasn't like.
When did you go to that?
That was.
Like, was it
I didn't
like,
get to go to the last one. Like there was, I think it was like 2010-ish.
I think there was one in like 2014 or 2015 or
Maybe
something.
that-
It was at the Toyota Center.
Yes.
I was there.
Yeah, or-
yeah,
yeah.
dude, I was wasted. Like I
Is
almost
it the one that had the big square above them?
I think so, yeah. They
Yeah.
had something like in the background too that was like crawling like hands and stuff. But I was
okay,
with,
no, that was the one after me. Then.
okay,
Yeah.
because I went with my boyfriend at the time and he said I don't know why I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just drink a bunch of vodka before I get there so we don't have to buy any drinks while I'm there.
Hey,
Dude, I was
classic.
smashed, dude. And we had seats, so we're like right over the balcony, and like the opener was still going, and I was
You were
already getting
already-
belligerent. I think it was
Get off the
Walk.
stage.
it was a band called, I think it was like Walk the Sun or something like that, and I was just like, yeah, Muse. And it's just like, Jade, they're not on yet. And he said the people below us like kept looking back at me because I was just screaming so much.
You were a whole vibe.
Yeah,
She
dude.
was
I
so
was
excited.
Yeah, I mean, apparently I had a really good time. Don't really remember it, but yeah, they did. What I do remember is the sound quality really good. He's a really great singer.
He's a great
Yeah.
vocalist.
He can't go as high pitched anymore, but still mad respect for Matt
Yeah.
Bellamy.
No, Matt's the man.
Yeah.
Love.
The whole band, and we went to see Queens of the Stone Age. They were awesome live, and that's why I said like real bands that were all lovers of their instruments and of their craft.
Musicians.
Musicians, true
Mhm.
musicians. Even but there are guys like that in hip hop, but they're far in between.
No one wants to listen to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they're following small.
Or
Which
they
is
fall
fine.
into the influence of the evil. Because some of them do, you know, some of them like I think Kid Cudi was one of them. Like he was a very good artist, you know. He was very creative, but I
Mhm.
think he got caught up in that. And now you see him, he's kind of losing himself.
You know, he acts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've seen him in a couple of movies.
I didn't
yeah.
know he was in that movie X. You know, there's X, Pearl, and Maxine.
Is that
They're like slasher movies.
Okay, I was gonna
the
say
girl
those
with
are-
the axe. And
Oh,
he was
yeah.
like, I'm a star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
that.
the overalls.
Yeah, the prequel to that X, Kid Cudi was in that one, and I didn't even notice that was him until my friend pointed it out. I was just like, huh,
Well, he just testified in the Diddy trial.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
That's what I'm saying.
It
Like
really makes you wonder.
people need to just remove themselves for a little bit to just be a little bit more aware of what we're consuming, and I think everything will be a lot more positive.
But also to believe that it's really happening.
Do you think it has to do with like that whole theory of like, you know, they sold their soul? And it's not essentially like, you know, as literal as it
Right.
sounds, like you had a
Yeah.
meeting, but like, you know, you had to do something dirty or do something you really didn't want to do
1,000%.
That's why
to
they
be-
blackmail you.
to get that influence from these people who really run the show, you know?
Mhm.
Well, there's been other rappers who have never made it big. I think it's Cassie. He speaks on, he had a good hit single and then he was supposed to keep moving up, but he talked about how the execs would send a like a stylist, and they were usually gay,
Mhm.
and he said that they would start to like try to fondle him or whatever and see
Wow.
how far he would go
Wow.
and dress him certain ways. He's like, nah, I ain't wearing that. He's like, and then that's when he realized another rapper had the same exact story, because they're almost like the testers. They're like, see how far this guy will go if he's, you know,
With a
if you're
dabble.
Kid Cudi,
Yeah.
oh, you let me grope you and stuff,
Yeah.
and all right, now you can come to the first party.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then that's how it, like the lineage
Yeah.
starts of if you sell your soul, and I don't think
Damn.
necessarily all of them think they sell their soul, but they might get
It's a
fucked up.
form of selling your soul.
Like you're giving
you
up
know?
a piece of your
Yeah,
humanity
yeah.
of
Right.
like, you know, your what you really believe in. Like,
Well, and also, I mean, you know, if you come from the gutter and you get offered $1 million, but you have to do this and fame, if you're weak-minded, or if you don't have God in your heart, you're most likely gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Or
And
many
I think,
values
and I think
instilled.
some people like try it, test it, get the feel for it, and man, there's no going back. How am I gonna live a 1,000-year life when I'm a millionaire? Like it's kind of like that pride.
Yeah.
That like, man, because I mean, like, obviously when I was 18, I wanted to be a rapper. And by the grace of God, I never got that because I might have dabbled. I mean, to be completely honest, I literally wanted fame. Like now, I want to do music to bring others to God, or to make good music, to talk about stuff that's like life. I don't want to talk about girls. I don't want to talk about money. I don't want to talk about senseless death stuff. Talk about enlightening and empowering and growing. But that's neither here nor there. But
I think one thing too, when it comes to like the whole thing about like money, fame, and all of that, none of that follows you into the afterlife. Like whatever the afterlife is, if it's heaven or if it's hell or if it's nothing, like doesn't matter. Like all your stuff, it's not going to come with you. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that too.
Yeah. That's why they follow the Egyptians too much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Cause
putting
it's
stuff
true.
in the tombs.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, be minimal, be simple. Like the kingdom of God that's where you're gonna get everything.
It's hard when you're an artist, though.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I need these tools.
See, but the thing
that's
is,
not minimal. That's enjoying your craft,
and that's why I think artists are amazing, right? Because you get to express yourself in a way that's like universal. You don't need to speak. If you do a painting, if you do a sculpture, it speaks for itself. People in Iran are going to understand it. People in Africa are going to understand it. Russia, you don't need to explain it. It's there. Like, it's going to talk to me. So, same with tattoos. Like, tattoos have been around since the beginning of time, Why do we do it, right? To express ourselves, to give, like, does that make sense? So I think an artist have an edge, and it's when it's used for the evil that is even more, because like you have a God-given gift. Pull people to the good, don't pull them to the dark, right?
That visual storytelling.
Or you do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Look at me flossing, look at my chains, look at my fucking grill, look at my 20-inch rims.
Pick me.
Yeah, right. But it's for yourself. You're not giving, you're not creating life. You're what is it, consuming?
Yeah, the consumption.
And that's spiritual consumption.
Yeah.
But I think when we talked to, I think it was Dylan, or maybe it was Jared, but because you're talking about the tools. I was telling him, I was like, sometimes not having the tools makes you be more creative. And you're actually trying to make something work without having the tools. Because there were times that the sculptures that we were like regarding as some of the best, they didn't have the tools that we have today. So
yeah. My professor said, imagine if Michelangelo had power tools.
Yeah, exactly.
The stuff he would carve, like, oh my gosh.
And I like to start raw. That's why everything I do is organic. This whole set is artist made.
We
like everything
is
yeah. Everything was just like, all right, what can we reuse? What can we reuse? What can we how can we just do this to where it looks the way I envisioned it, but it's just done with artist's eye and not so much with money. Because that's where I think people get like, oh, I need every gadget. Even tattooers are just like, oh, well, I'm constantly changing machines because I need the best of the best of the best.
The new this, the new that, just like with our phones and our technology and stuff like that. And
right.
A lot of the stuff that's even made, it's kind of made really badly. A lot of stuff is made out of plastic, and it's just like, why fix this one when you can just go buy a new one? And that's another thing. It's just like we've lost a lot of sense of like our artisanal skills, like shoemakers and carpenters and furniture makers and like things like that. Those are all skills that
craftsmen,
people used to have. And there was a friend of mine who was saying how they built I think it's a Prada or Louis Vuitton factory in Dallas or Fort Worth. I think it's Dallas, but they were having issues staffing it because people don't sew anymore. And it's just like sewing is one thing, but sewing leather is like another thing. So, and that just made me realize like, wow, like we've really gotten away from like these things that we used to do ourselves. Like so many people used to sew their own clothes, make their own clothes. And now it's just like, that's another thing. Like all of our clothes, it's made out of like polyester and like stuff like that. And
the rabbit hole gets deep.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
There's
That's
truth
all
to
part of
it.
the spiritual
Yeah.
attack, because
Yeah.
it's like you take away from the value of that artist, man. Like, I mean, a simple the cobbler, I think that's what they call it, right? People that work on
Shoemaker.
shoes, yeah.
Mhm.
Like that's gone. You know, like in Mexico,
Mhm.
I think it's still like you see it on the malls. Like a guy will have his little setup, and you still put your shoe, you clean it. You know, but like that's still a profession. Like that's his livelihood. You know, and to him, that's his art. You know, so it's like we're taking
Yeah.
away from that because
We
it's
had
like
we had the Houston Shoe Hospital.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
over
think
there in
on
Rice
Kirby.
Village.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I lost my train of thought. But what I was gonna, the cars. Look at the cars. They used to be hunks of metal, you know, like they used to be to get into an accident and get a little scuff. Now they're all plastic. You know,
Yep.
now they're all from the fender to the back. It's all, you know, but then they're 4 times the amount.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so
When-
it's kind of like
And I'm a big defender of capitalism and the free market and people creating to create their own wealth, because I believe in that. But we have become just a consumer price-based society. What can I get on the cheap? Who cares if it's good for 3 months and then it breaks? I'll just get another one, as opposed to I'll just buy one that's handmade by
Lasts
my
forever.
neighbor.
Mhm.
That'll last forever. It might cost 5 times as much, but
The quality.
the quality,
but in you're supporting
right, the
you
community,
know?
as opposed
Yeah,
to
yeah.
slave
Yeah.
labor in China or these other places. And that's where, again, that's where the middle needs to just kind of wake up, is that most people hate capitalism that are in college these days, or don't understand what capitalism truly is, just because there's been some assholes that take advantage of people. But like the CEO of that got murdered by
Oh yeah. That
old
guy.
Luigi.
Yeah.
health insurance or whatever.
Right, but capitalism to its core is just whatever you can create and put into the public square for people to purchase. That's capitalism. You're creating something that people need and want, and you're just putting it out to the world. And by you doing that, you're able to support yourself and your family, your community. And obviously, there has to be checks and balances once people start to get greedy or try to fuck people over, or make the product that has that one plastic piece that always breaks.
Yeah.
So you can, all right, well, I'll sell you another one.
Or
you
they
know?
slow down your iPhone.
Oh man, my
But
phone
I
just
mean-
updated the other day, and I'm like, oh man.
Oh, that fucked everyone
I
up.
have some issues with it too. But see, to me, it's kind of like, I think it's part of the agenda too, to devalue people, right? Because it's like we don't cherish one another like we used to, you know, like every single life is precious, you know, if you really think about it, you know. And, you know, somebody that would make a t-shirt by hand, now the 15-year-old has got a printer at home and he can design and it's done in, he does 100 in 15 minutes and this guy does 5 in 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously that's according to the individual, right? Like, do I want to have a handcrafted, or do I just want something that looks good for
Mass-produced.
now? You know, but still, like, I think it's part of the agenda of like devaluing one another, devaluing that love and respect and courtesy for the human neighbor. You know, and I think that's kind of like I mean, there's the devil. You know, like the devil doesn't want us to consider others. The devil wants us to be selfish. The devil wants us to be internal and one. I guess I don't know. I guess selfish. I mean, that's the only word I could really think of. You know.
And that's what people equate capitalism to, but it's, you know, that's why I kind of always bring politics in these conversations, because politics is a reflection on society and culture. And what are we doing culturally right now? It's all about me. It's about my group.
Destroying.
It's my group is the one that needs to be protected from that group.
Yeah.
But what does that do?
Racism.
It divides us.
Divides.
Yeah.
And that's been the oldest playbook from the Book of War, where it's divide and conquer, and we're not realizing it fast enough. And if we could just realize, like, these architects, these engineers are creating this simple life for us, to just wake up a little bit, listen to what we're saying could be true.
Yeah.
And just use that little nugget to just examine everything you intake, and then see what happens from there.
Even if it's planting that seed, you know, because it's kind of like, again, it goes back to that desensitizing, you know, like people don't think like that. Like people don't think, wait a minute, this seems suspect. Let me do some research. Let me pray on it. Let me meditate on it. Now it's just kind of okay. Go.
It's all like, oh no, it's all good intention. Like, just have that dose of, well, what if not?
Yeah.
What if it is some badness to that?
Because everybody's capable of it, right?
Exactly.
Because a good example is like that new Kanye song.
Mm-hmm.
What new Kanye song?
The one that got banned from the word that we couldn't mention.
Okay.
Have you heard it?
I don't think I've heard it.
So, could I say it? So the lyrics say...
What does it rhyme with?
N-word,
okay.
Hi Hitler.
What? Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
What is going on with that, man?
Well, but also like, okay, like he's on a movement, which is a very hard and complicated movement to understand, but it got banned because he says that. But if you think about it, degrading women, doing drugs, kill this fool, kill that fool, it's okay.
Yeah.
But then this gets censored. Like, you know, there was an interview that Prince had where he speaks about censorship. And he thinks like, man, we all need censorship. You know, even as a man, like, don't watch porn, right? Don't watch corn. Don't lust too much. Because it's like, when you do it, it changes, it desensitizes you, and it opens that door. It opens that, maybe I could dabble a little, maybe I could try it, you know? So we're living in an era of censorship, but what's being censored? Like, if you pay attention lately, you can't criticize Muslims. You can't criticize the Jewish religion. You can't criticize other religions, but Christianity is being ridiculed and shamed at all-time high.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody says anything.
No.
And if you do, you're the problem.
You're too sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
you're some type of ist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Racist,
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Prejudice. Yeah, and
it's scary.
Yeah, because it's happening in front of us again.
But that tells you something.
So the whole Kanye thing is, his whole message in the song is, how can we degrade women, all this, but you know, everyone's keeping me from my kids. He's basically saying, I've been trying to tell the truth and nobody's here to help me. So let me push as many buttons as I can to get the attention that I'm trying to tell y'all of what's happening. You
think that's why, like, there was, what event was it where him and his wife showed up and she wasn't wearing anything?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's why he does stuff like that?
I think he's such a
genius,
speck in the sand of just different thinking, because he is a true artist. I think he's a true artist. I might not like all of his art, but I think he's a true artist. I'm not gonna say he's a genius, but I guess you can be subjective with the word
creative genius.
Yeah. And just like Lady Gaga comes in a meat suit at the VMAs, or some of these things at the Met Gala, these people are wearing this
extreme,
most
it's like
outrageous shit.
Radical.
Right. He's doing the same thing in that sense of just artistic expression. And his whole thing is like, oh, we see a naked woman, but him's like, nah, man, I'm all black, and then this is all white, and you know, he creates some artistic,
which in a way it is kind of genius.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's like people, the masses are dumb. The masses are easily influenced. They tell you this is art. Oh, this is art. $1 million.
It's a red dot on a canvas.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it means this is what it means. Oh, you're so right.
And that's why we are where we are, because the masses are easily
influenced,
persuasive, persuaded.
You know. We all have monkey brains.
Yeah.
But for my Kanye, the reason I still stand up for him is because we don't realize he's been in the situation where he's met these devils or these demonic entities or these really fucked up people. He's had dinner with these people, and then he's also released himself from it.
Yeah.
So mentally that fucks you up.
He claims Jesus. He claims God, you know?
But then he goes and does the like porn or makes random comments about
it is weird,
you know, the Nazis and stuff. So
it's almost like he contradicts himself a lot. And
But that also shows to me
strategic.
a damaged mind.
Yeah.
It also shows maybe it could be some creative genius. Like, well, if I can spin it this way, it's like when you really love someone and you want them to wake up, you tell them things that are gonna hurt. Not because you want them to like suffer, but because you're like, what can I say that's gonna Like,
yeah,
turn that knob and get you to realize you're fucking up.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's trying to do that on a mass scale.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't. But I think too many of the people are just, it's fucking crazy. Like,
he does come off a little. He comes off, in my opinion, like there's some medication he should be taking. Maybe, I don't know.
And probably so, and maybe so. But again, like, if you just get a quick dose of him, of course. But if you understand his story more, maybe you're gonna be like, ew.
And it's also whatever the media is pushing out about him. They're pushing a specific narrative of him, which makes sense because all I ever see is like the crazy Kanye clips.
But what's been our whole recipe is like, they're attacking us through media, they're attacking us through medicine, through food, through movies, through Hollywood,
and all of that is
so we have to
by the same people.
That's the architecture and the engineer that they've created. So we have to like use a whole collective reasoning when we see something like
we
that.
We have
and
to.
if we're not doing the whole collective reasoning, we are just getting the tidbit of the matrix to push along or to set aside something.
And sometimes it's easier to follow the masses, right? Like in school, it's like, oh, everybody, you know, like it's everybody, like you don't want to be the outcast, you don't want to be the left eye. So sometimes you want to keep that identity, and that's destructive to you, you know, like to be like,
think for
well,
yourself.
I want to fit in, yeah. But there was a theory that his wife or whatever was an agent, and that he knew, so his method to embarrass her was to dress her like that. Because it was kind of like the media planted her to kind of like keep him like shut down or quiet down or whatever.
Because I don't know if you know, they talk about there being handlers all through the celebrity world, and a handler is basically someone who is in his situation first was a trainer who was like, who will try to keep you at bay when you're kind of starting to leave the programming, and they'll it's trainers, doctors, physician, psychiatrists. A lot of them are said to be ex-CIA, ex different military.
MK Ultra.
Yeah.
And Candace Owens is a beautiful reporter in the sense that she's already connected 4 different doctors and coroners that are related to Michael Jackson, Prince, Mac Miller, Aaron Carter.
I've really come to appreciate that woman.
Yeah. But
she's
connecting all these dots.
She's a beacon of light. I mean, she's doing the right thing. She's fighting the good fight. And when you have God in your corner, can't nothing really stop you.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing is too, is like she's very blunt and like direct, but she's not disrespectful about it.
Yeah.
You know, like
or emotional.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people are just like, oh, she's being rude and stuff. Like, no, I think she just like takes the emotion out of her voice, so it's like very monotone. It
sounds cold.
But I mean, that's just how she talks.
I'd rather hear the truth like that than a beautiful lie or a beautiful manipulation.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you know, that's me. But I think most people, like, I mean, if you see it, if you tell somebody the truth, they're insulted.
Yeah, I mean,
or if you have your boundary,
that person,
right, and it's powerful that you can admit that, you know. But it's
I'm probably still that person in some ways, like depending on what it is,
what we're talking about.
Yeah, but that was like a really difficult thing for me to overcome over the past few years. Yeah, just that.
Yeah. But I think it's like we have to rewire ourselves because we grew up in our childhood was completely manipulated, you know, and we are followers. Like we follow, you know, like as we're growing up, we have to, somebody has to lead us. That's how we learn. We learn by experiencing, by seeing, I don't know, you know. So who do we follow? Who do we, you know? So it's like we've been programmed. So now that we awaken and now that we can think rational or critical, then we like have to chip at that and restructure that statue, right? Remold that brick or that rock.
I always say how every day I'm constantly rewiring my brain and like my nervous system too. Yeah, which is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Well, you carry a good energy with you and it shows, you know, and I think that's what the world needs more of. So people like you are gems in the world today. Candace Owens, you know, like people that are standing up for. Because it's hard to, right? Because it's like now if you stand up for yourself, you set boundaries. Oh, you're rude. Oh, she's too, I don't know, right?
Stuck up.
It's like, what the fuck? Like,
you definitely get attacked more.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that and I'm cool with it. I'm built for it. I could care less about words, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The
Like,
exoskeleton.
It's actions.
yeah, it's actions and intent.
Mhm.
Like if you're trying to attack me in a certain way with words, wow, dude.
Ouch.
I've
Talk
been
is cheap.
yeah, I've been called all kinds of racist
Yeah.
things, but to like let somebody's words affect me, I just I can't put my mindset to people who are so where they wake up in racism every
Shallow.
day.
Yeah.
I'm like for real, the most that you care about is how people perceive you,
Mhm.
of the color of your skin. Like how closed up of a fucking life is that?
And how easily manipulated you can be.
Yeah, because everything you see is now race intention.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a guy that just was having a bad day. Oh, he's racist. He fucking hates me because I'm black or I'm brown. It's just like, dude might have just had a bad day and
Right.
was like, get the fuck out of my way. And
Be courteous.
And like that's where we also have to not take things so personally.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Like I work in retail. I work with around the public all the time, and like sometimes I think people do use me as a punching bag, just like a moment just to like get their anger out. And sometimes like because I do suffer from panic attacks sometimes it will like trigger one, but I've gotten a lot better about not internalizing those
Mhm.
interactions as much, and just like whenever I take my lunch, and because I always pray over my food, and I'll be like, and please God, please help that person that was very mean to me today.
Yeah.
See, that's already, that resets everything.
Yeah.
Because to me, people that attack servers, retail, or employees are cowards. Because they know you're going to keep it professional. They know you're not going to call them out because you're at work. You clocked in.
It's a cop out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's a cowardly
It's
move.
low hanging fruit.
You know,
right?
like there was this one video I saw, and you just kind of scroll out. I didn't even think nothing of it, but it was this lady, fully surgery, you know, like blah, blah, blah. And this dude serving pizza, right? So he comes and he's like, put it on a plate. And she's like, do I look like I eat carbs? And it was just so
Rude.
disgusting. Like, I
Ugh.
mean, how about just no thank you?
Yeah.
Like, this guy ain't worried about what the hell you eating. It's just like, come on, man. And it grinds my gears, you know, because it's like, she's rich, obviously, she's got money,
Yeah.
but it's like, how poor in spirit are you? How
Yeah.
pathetic are you? How sad are you? You know, because it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, man.
So unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
So unnecessary.
But you said like, I just don't give people that power to make me feel, unless they're like in my circle,
Mhm.
right? But if they're, because I worked retail for 12 years too, so you know what comes with that.
Mhm.
And people are in and out, they could care less. You know, that also helped me to be like more present when I do go grocery shopping. Like, hey man, thanks. How you doing today? And you know, instead of just being like in my headphones and just,
Yeah.
you know, even during the pandemic, like I was definitely against mask wearing, and I still am. And as soon as they lifted the mask restrictions, I'm out there without a mask. And I noticed getting ugly looks all the time. So I was like, you know what? Do I say, fuck you, what are you going to do about it? Or do I say, hey, how's it going? Put a smile on my face. And I could see the smiles, you know, like
Yeah.
I couldn't see the smiles, but
Or
I
was
could.
it
eyes,
beady
yeah.
eyes like this?
Right, it could have been. But when I see this part go up, it's like, okay, like, and that was my intention. It's like, you know what? Don't make this a fight moment. Make this a teaching moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also for myself, be like, look, through goodness, we can change things a lot, just as easy as we could do it through evil intentions or anger. So it's like, let me just try the opposite. And for sure, you know, because that's what scared me about this pandemic was just like, we're all masked up. We're not looking at each other no more. We're trying to stay away from each other. I saw that spiritual attack
Mhm.
a mile away.
Isolation, bro.
I was like, this is not right. I saw it with my kids and I didn't like it. I was fighting my principal all the time. I was like, this needs to fucking stop already. Because my kids are getting anxiety if they don't have their mask on. Like, no, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
man.
baby, it's okay. Like, daddy's not
Man.
gonna put you in danger. Trust me.
Wow.
Like,
Mm.
and you know, that's a whole nother podcast that we can get into. But the point is like, I feel like if we can just be more present, not care so much when people are weaker than us in sense of spirit.
Yeah, like you stay yourself, right? Because that's another form of like, okay, you gotta give it a little more effort to stay happy, you know, but it's still being yourself. Like you don't let that's true power. Like no duplicity, right? Like you're genuine and you're the same.
What's duplicity?
Duplicity means that I have two faces.
Okay.
I could be super kind to you, and then I could be like
Two-faced.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's two-faced. Yeah,
Got you. Okay.
And it's in the Bible. It talks about duplicity. It tells to thyself be true, because it's like that's like that, But it's like that's the spiritual attack. It wants to turn you, And it's like with the doom scrolling, I see fights, or I see like a rude person, and I'm like, oh, I would have done this. I would have said this. And it's like, would I have really?
Yeah.
But also, it's affecting me in the moment. It's changing me in the moment. And I think that's part of the plan, right? Part of the agenda. So you doing the smiling and you staying yourself.
Well, it's like they say, like, happiness isn't natural either. You have to work on being a happy
You have
person.
to choose it.
You have to choose it. So that's, like I said, since I spent so much of my youth being confrontational or not giving a fuck, that took energy too.
Mm-hmm.
So now I realize, okay, let's turn that. I could either be, you never see me, I'm just to myself, or I can try to practice what I'm trying to preach and actually be someone better than, 90% of the people that are out there, and actually bring some type of emotion, whether it's like, oh, that guy was kind of cool, or oh, I'm glad he asked me that, or oh man, somebody smiled at me today, I'm not gonna go shoot myself, like
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because everybody's fighting a battle that you know nothing about. And that's why I think it's so imperative and important just to be a nice person. Even if like you're having a bad day, that doesn't mean you have to take it out on other people. And I just wish people were a little more mindful of that, especially people who do claim to follow the Bible and follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. Because there's that one really popular verse where Jesus says, like, love one another as I have loved you. And yet it's just so many people are just so wrapped up in their own little world where they just are just like, I don't know you, I don't really care about you, And
then they justify that.
Yeah, and they all the time with just like, I work hard for what I have, and why should I have to share like my spoils with other people? And it doesn't really always have to come down to that, but I just wish people, if you're going to follow and claim to follow the teachings of the Bible, like keep in mind, like that is one very important lesson. And I want to say, didn't Jesus forgive Judas?
Yeah, but Judas never asked for forgiveness. That was the whole theory about that. A lot of people don't remember. So obviously I don't know the facts, but they were saying that like he got kind of condemned himself because he committed suicide, right?
Yes.
So by him committing suicide, he thought himself, he judged himself thinking he will never forgive me. But obviously Christ forgave him.
Yeah, because
and he will.
When Jesus was on the cross, he said like, Father, like forgive them for they don't know.
They know not what they do.
The whole ignorance aspect of it.
Yeah, because he was talking about the Romans, right, that were actually crucifying him. But in reality, he was talking about everybody.
Yeah.
Because we really don't know what we do. That's why the best thing we could do is tune our frequency to stay happy, to stay nice, to choose love. Because that's really us tuning our own frequency, right? Because it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to go out in the world. I'm going to have a great day. You're already speaking it into existence. But now you got to practice it.
And it's like, even though, I have X, Y, and Z going on, like that's where your faith can come into play, where it's just like, I put my faith into God and God's plan for me. And aside from that, I'm in control of what I'm in control of, and everything else, it's just like, so be it,
And that's that whole let God. Did you ever hear that? Like, no. Just let God. So in I know like in AA, Alcoholic Anonymous, it's a big thing. Like, just let God. It's kind of like meaning surrender to His will.
Right.
Let God. Because it's kind of like, okay, like, yeah, we can control some things, mainly how we react, how we respond, how we choose to you wrong me, you cut me off. I could be like, this fucking bitch. Right? Or I could be like, oh, no big deal.
Maybe they really had to poop.
Right. Or just not even acknowledge it. It's simple, right? Like it could be so simple, but it is complex. And I think it's complex because of the layers that the world and that humanity has put over the spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to work in a factory, you're supposed to work 9 to 5, you're supposed, like, the expectations, right? Like, I mean, God does say work, right? But God loves laborers, right? Like God loves the work that you put, but work could be going to check on your neighbor.
Yeah.
Father-in-law's at the house. Hey, my house is your house. Now it's your house. Like that. That's letting God. That's like passing on His word.
It's community.
His
though.
community.
Yeah.
But it's also putting into practice the word, right? Because what does the Bible say? God can't live off of bread only, but by the word of God, right? So
I have a question about what y'all might think about the Bible itself. Do y'all think there's a possibility that text over time has been rewritten and reworded? Because the Bible is super old.
Yeah.
And the stories were first passed down verbally for many, many years, like in the early beginning teachings of Christianity, basically. And I don't think it was until the 1800s when the first English translation was printed. And it kind of just makes me wonder. So there was all that time when it was just verbally said, and then eventually it was compiled into some
stories,
some text similar to what we have today, but it wasn't in English.
Right.
Like, so do y'all think there's a possibility where stuff has been rewritten to fit certain...
So I 100% believe that it's been changed. Now, manipulated is a different perspective, but I know that in Hebrew, some stuff can't be translated. So then we have to find a way to make people that speak English understand, right? So do I believe that it was intentionally done for the better of it? Or I would like to believe so, but I don't think so. I think that, because I know there was the King David, or what was it, the other one?
King
James that changed it to say to his what is it? Preference, but also his convenience, right? Like the marriage stuff, the divorce stuff, like some of that stuff started getting changed because the king said, I want this to be a law. Now, I don't know exactly how in-depth that is or how true that is, but I think some things were left out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because they also talk about there's certain books and chapters that have been taken out.
Yeah.
And where there's like books and chapters that talk more about like all like the mythological stuff and things like that.
So what do you think?
I'm from the camp of there's always a possibility, but were those changes like making a word to like really like change the whole messaging? I don't think so. Because if that were the case, I think Christianity today would be a much more volatile, violent, evil, or dark faith, right?
Yeah.
And because to me, it still seems like it's probably one of the most peaceful ones. Because I struggle with that a lot too. I had arguments with my brother and stuff, and he's real. He's like a Catholic historian. He's a big reader.
He's deep in there.
And he's deep in there. He'll like, even Jehovah's Witness, when they come knock on the door, he invites them in because he wants to
pick their brains.
He wants to let them know what's up. So they stop going to the neighborhood. So I asked him a lot about that too, and about the homosexuality stuff. And,
and
all that
kind of
stuff.
where my hang up is just,
right.
You meet people and
right.
you think back in time where it's like, before all social media was even a big thing, before the internet was even a thing, like in the 80s and the 70s, there was always a pretty prominent population of gay people. And people could argue too about like the transgender people too, but there's a lot of people who have share their own story where it's just like from a very young age, they always knew like they didn't like, a boy that didn't like girls, they always liked other boys, even from like a very young age. And it almost makes you wonder, like, maybe some people really are just born gay, because I have people in my life that's been them their whole lives, and they weren't influenced by like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that.
That's my argument to him, because coming from the retail world, that's when I met my first gay person, and many gay people after that, and some of their stories are different. Some of them aren't from a childhood, or as a
perspective.
Yeah, because then it goes into like, well, how old were they when they were knowing that they liked boys or girls, and then it goes into like histories of families in the Bible of being from certain family lineages, and like it's weird because there's a side on my mom's side where there's a lot of her family is gay, but they've also had like a different hardship of life. So it's just like, man, like,
is it circumstantial?
Psychological? Is there something that happens during the birthing, during the process of development and in the mom? There's studies that show that there might be changes in the embryo when mom's going through hard struggles and hard strife during the pregnancy.
Like if she's super stressed out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like estrogen levels,
right? All that stuff starts to change.
It does make it impacts the body.
And again, like that's why I argue with my brothers. Like, who's to say that that's that baby's fault?
Yeah.
And then if God doesn't make any mistakes, then what do we call this? You can't call them an abomination. Like that's not up to us to decide. Now, can you take it too far? Just like the OnlyFans girls walking through Pride Parade and with your dick hanging out and saying you're doing it for fucking
in front of children.
In front of children for love and homosexuality. That's fuck that.
That's
no.
blasphemy.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's just unethical, right?
Yeah.
Like I think two consenting adults, you and a freak, get your freak on.
Have your own freak off.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean it's really to each his own because you know what you're doing. You're conscious. You're of age. They're of age. You agree. You know exactly what's gonna go down. When you take a child, I mean, God says for those who harm the smallest of mine, it's like as if they do it directly to me. That's a high accusation. Like I mean that's what I preach. Like that.
And that could happen in pregnancy, because you're a man or somebody hurting a pregnant woman is you're hurting two people.
Yeah.
And I definitely think when women are pregnant, they're definitely more vulnerable, like emotionally, physically, can't run as fast if they might be in danger. Women are already super emotional, and I can only imagine what it's like being pregnant. Like, oh my goodness. Probably hungry all the time, like hangry, like.
And every woman's pregnancy is different too.
Yeah.
And it's like I think it's beautiful, right? Because the womb is the portal of the spirit to the physical. It really is, But also, it takes 9 months for a reason, right? Yeah. Obviously, the embryo has to develop, but also you're being downloaded information. Like all that DNA, it has information from your ancestors.
And it's like the baby, it's like you're talking about the babies down. Yeah.
The embryo, the fetus is being downloaded information. Like it's eating what the mom eats, but not only that, the DNA, the survival of the grandparents, the survival of 3,000 years ago, all of that is embedded in us. That's why like sometimes we have visions or thoughts that we're like, where the hell did that come from? It could come from an ancestor. It could come from a survival experience, a drama, a shock, something that.
Well, that's why I talk about the homosexuality. It could be like that lineage of.
That's a touchy situation because I have homosexual friends, and they're good people, but it's like I could tell some of them were like born like that. Like I could just tell that from the get-go they were like that, and I mean there's no doubt. Like so it's kind of like obviously I don't judge, like it's hard because from a Christian we're supposed to at least state that we believe it's wrong, but it's harder to pass that because it's like, I mean, you don't know what they go through. Again, it's like to each his own, you don't know what their minds, what their thoughts are like. They're fragile. We're all fragile. We all want to be seen as strong and stuff, but we're not, and I think that's the vulnerability. It's beautiful. It's power in vulnerability. It's power in weakness, not weakness, but power in accepting that I need help. I need help from the Most High, even.
And a lot of men struggle with vulnerability.
Right. And then that's the toxic masculinity happens, right? Because it's kind of like that machismo, like, no, I got to prove that I'm a man. That's not right. Like a man is like understanding. A man listens. A man acts. A man knows when to hold back, right? I mean, to me, like that's and I fail at it. I'm not saying I'm perfect because I'm far from it, but I try to thrive towards that,
Yeah, because it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to soften the male too much,
Mm-hmm.
but we do need outlets of just letting some steam out. But that's
Yeah.
why I think it's more important. Not so much. Obviously, we need to talk about things, but it is important for guys too, whether it's lifting weights or playing sports or doing some type of physical activity to release some of that.
Yeah.
Exert that
Mhm.
energy.
That testosterone,
Yeah.
that energy of like, because we were
Hunters.
thousands of years ago, we were protecting the family. We were making sure people had food. As the women went and got berries and gathered,
Took care of the babies.
took care of the babies, and that was what we did to survive this long. So why? And then this is where the trans thing also contradicts that whole life of procreation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, procreation.
Procreation.
And the homosexuality.
Because think about it. I mean, I believe that's part of the agenda, right? Because I mean, I think transsexuality or whatever has been going on for longer than we could imagine.
Yeah.
But it's never been as in our faces as it is now, right?
Yeah.
And that being said, right, is promoting the breaking up of the family, the structure of the basic family, right? Like, I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, a mom, a dad, and whatever children, and then both the mom and the dad are teachers, are engineers, are therapists, are enforcers of the law, right? Like, I think that's part of our responsibility. But now, you have the broken families are at all-time high again, right? And obviously, you don't want to. There is a plan to depopulate the world, but also how do you keep from depopulating by
naturally
men having sex with men and no pregnancies?
Yeah.
Right? Now, again, I'm not judging anybody's sexual preferences. I'm against pedophilia. I think that's destruction from the get-go. I think that's like attacking God directly, because then you are pure as an innocent baby coming out of the womb. You're pure. You have no knowledge. You're brand new. You're a clean disc. What kind of data are you gonna install, or what kind of programs are you gonna install? So to me, a 12-year-old might be curious about same-sex, but give it a little more time, right? Like, wait till you're 20, 25, and if you still want to get that sex change, then get it. But don't do it at 12.
No.
And then I think that's the parent's responsibility to protect them and say, okay, you like boys, you're a boy, you like boys. Okay, let's give it a little bit, see if you still feel the same in 10 years,
And I think that's just the whole argument. But we get pushed as you're against this lifestyle or these people, or you want them gone. It's like, no, like, just leave kids out of it.
Yeah.
Kids, that's it.
Let a kid be a kid. Like, I can't
be a kid.
I can't stand when I see a 12-year-old girl dressing like she's 25 already.
Yeah.
Wearing a halter top and already wearing lipstick and stuff. And it's just like, what the fuck is that? Like, leave her alone.
Influence online.
It's the mom, like, oh, this is my mini-me. Like, you're fucking her up. You're sexualizing her already. And that's the same thing with the gay and the trans thing. Is like they're trying to sexualize kids already. And it's not right.
Well, they're trying to make a sexual preference. They're trying to make.
Well, that's for older people to make pedophilia a sexual preference.
That's fucked up. I'm sorry.
And that's already happened in California.
Yeah.
But
the age of consent.
You have a 10-year gap now. If both parties consent, as long as you're within 10 years with each other and they're under 18.
Oh, that's awful.
You're good to go.
Oh, no.
That's just not right, man.
Who agreed to that?
Californians who are
extremists.
Who lives in California and has a lot of the money. Hollywood.
Oof.
Big tech.
Oh.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So let's change the subject.
Yeah. I mean,
let's get on we're gonna try on the. Oh, go ahead.
I do see that you have some notes. Is there something that you wanted to talk about?
I listened to a really interesting audiobook lately. It's kind of referring back to like the whole drugs thing. The book is called Blitzed: Drugs in the Third Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Have y'all ever read that book or heard of it?
No, I have.
I've seen a documentary based off of it.
Blitz?
Yeah, Blitzed, like Blitz,
right?
Yeah,
Blitzed,
Blitzed: Drugs in the Third Reich. And it essentially speaks on how the entire country of Germany at one point during World War II, they were hooked on methamphetamine. And it's not like meth as we think about it today. It was actually this little pill called Prevatin. And they were giving it to soldiers in their rations. They were like weekly rations and stuff. But also it was available to the public through pharmacies and just over the counter, and the whole nation was just like hooked at
Drugged
one point.
up.
Yeah. And even Hitler himself, apparently he kind of had some minimal health issues in the beginning, and he had this one specific doctor. The doctor's last name is Morel, but that was like his personal physician who would essentially give him like a shot, and it was full of vitamins and also just like a concoction of, I guess, drugs essentially. And so he was just always like, go, 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 go. And I learned that also, so after World War I, there was the Treaty of Versailles. I don't know exactly what the Treaty of Versailles entails, but essentially the country of Germany, they weren't able to get imports of natural stimulants like teas and coffees and things like that. So they started producing like synthetic drugs. And in I think it was like the 1920s, mid 1920s, they were the world's like leading exporter of like opium and like heroin and things like that. And so that's kind of how this whole methamphetamine came to be
Created.
Yeah. And it just kind of blows my mind. Like, it almost makes it seem like that's why they were so successful during World War II, because they thought like, well, sleeping soldiers are useless soldiers. So what can we do to keep them awake? They gave them these rations of this Prevatin stuff, and their tolerance became so high. They were taking like 2 pills of it like a day and just like staying awake.
Yeah, and even the American soldiers were like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys?
Yeah.
These guys won't stop fighting. And
I mean, there's theory that they were doing methamphetamine, like, so I don't know if maybe that was in
no,
there.
That's what
that's what it
she's
is.
talking about.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, but that's essentially what it was.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And that's what's in ecstasy too.
Yeah, and then that makes you wanna unalive easier. Your sense of
not unalive is you're just not caring about it.
You're just wired up.
Yeah,
you're just ready to go.
Yeah,
and
but
you
like,
can take a bullet easier.
Yeah, and like whenever they're invading and stuff, like they could just keep pushing. Like they didn't have to stop and rest. And I think that's why the military, they were just so like for it and stuff, because they were just seeing such higher success rates
The
and
results.
stuff. Yeah, and I think
Blitzkrieg.
they said even in the book that even kamikaze pilots in Japan, like they were also using methamphetamine to like, just imagine piloting a freaking fighter jet and you're just like tweaking out.
I'm about to drive into this.
That's the first video game,
right?
Nothing's gonna happen.
But that's pretty interesting, though. I mean, that's interesting. But it's like that just shows to prove that how much a human body can endure and is capable of.
But why didn't we learn about this in school?
Well, no, because also some of it is like, why didn't we listen? I think a lot of it is too, like, because I remember the Treaty of Versailles, and that's basically Germany got stripped of all its privileges because of World War One. The Allied nations.
This is during the war.
This is after World War One.
Yeah.
So that's what also created World War II, was because, and the nationalist movement in Germany was because it's like, we are still a great country, and this is, I don't know if you've heard the AI changes of Hitler's
the translation.
I think I did watch one video once.
Yeah, and all he's talking is they basically translate his voice from German to American, but keep his actual same voice tone and all that. But he's basically just saying, like, we are still like a strong nation. We have a lot going for us, and basically, fuck them if they don't think we're worthy. And it became from being isolated from everyone to now like, nah, let's just be who we are, and
powerful, or show power.
So it shows from a country that fucked up and then got reprimanded for it, and then everyone kind of just, you're on your own, turned into this big evil country again, And you can almost do that to people, right? Like if you outsider people so much and don't talk to them and don't have the free speech with them on their own time, they can become the greatest villain you've ever met. And that's what happens in Batman and all these other stories is like, and that's why I feel like people who are trying to stifle speech right now, whether you agree with it or not, you're going to create the biggest villain you've ever seen, whether it's they're on the right side or the wrong side. Either way, you're going to get an adversary you never thought you could see because
Like,
they're going to do it in the shadows.
People have limits, you know, or what's the opposite of a limit? Like where you just had enough and you just pop off. You know? Like, I guess it is a limit.
Limits,
right?
yeah.
But it seems like he honestly thought they were doing the right thing.
Of course.
You know?
He believed it.
Yeah. And
Because
I think that's why it was so easy for him to have so much influence over people because when he spoke with like he believed in what he was saying.
well, and also the country was in a bad spot. You know, people were eating very, very little, if any at all. So
they're not going to eat when they're all methed out.
Yeah.
Well, but this
that made it easier not to eat.
But that was before that, right?
It was
before
before
the wars.
Yeah.
Because it's like a specific group. If you do more research, a lot of stuff is coming out that we never thought would be.
That wasn't taught in school.
Yeah, that was definitely not taught in school. In numbers, the numbers matter now because stuff that they didn't teach us. But this specific group was kind of collapsing the economy. So it took somebody like Hitler to say, "Hey,
point the finger, find a scapegoat."
Yeah, and also like it's kind of like if your house, you know, if your house is being used as a beaten punching bag, you eventually gotta say, okay, we're gonna either live our whole existence like this, or we gotta reinstate power, you know, or show that we are. This is my house. So I'm not trying to justify what it did, you know, or what happened, but maybe some things weren't what they taught us. Or what
I believe that. Yeah. I mean, my dad always says the winner is always right. The history.
No, that's who writes history, you know. And then on our last episode, we talked about who wrote the books and what's beneficial for
that story,
or the world's story, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that are not in our textbooks, you know.
Yeah, and now these days, aren't they trying to take stuff out of textbooks? Like, I remember hearing at one point here in Texas, I don't know if it's true or not, they were taking like the whole slavery aspect and stuff out of textbooks.
There was like they were trying to rename the word slavery to, just like they try to change like it's the wording. Somebody had the idea to change it from slavery to
oppression,
unpaid worker or something like that.
Oh my god!
But nobody was like, nah, get the fuck out of here. And then there was books in Florida that were being banned, but it was again because they're sexualizing things in kids' books that shouldn't have been in there. So I think that's the thing of the history thing is like if you're giving a quarter of the story, are you telling the full story? Probably not, right? Or if you're telling this half of the story but not the contrarian side to it, you know, you're not telling the full story, so you're lying in that sense. And that's what we're finding out a lot of World War II, because even in something as the concentration camps, there was a Jewish investigative journalist. He was studying Auschwitz, who had all these gas chambers, that was notorious for the gas chambers. And then there was another concentration camp, I forgot what the name was, who also had gas chambers. And he was saying at this concentration camp, not Auschwitz, the other one, you could see the blue residue on the walls. You could get readings of the chemicals. This was definitely a gas chamber. But in Auschwitz, none of that was there. And Auschwitz was one of the bigger concentration camps. And he's not here to deny that these concentration camps were here. He's just trying to bring the fact, like, maybe people weren't killed here in
like the books like the history books tell us,
or the propaganda that was perpetrated to get us to go fight.
That's what it is.
So it's just like,
or did somebody come and scrub the walls?
But
you can't. That stuff soaks in.
Yeah.
Like when he went to go show.
But nobody's
the blue
thinking
walls,
like that back then, right? Like you're not thinking like, okay, who's gonna come and prove this, or who's gonna come and what do you call it? You can just
tell the story. Yeah.
What do you call when you go like micro-scientific?
Like deep
forensic, right? Yeah. Like forensic, right? But I don't know. I'm just saying, why couldn't or why hasn't our existence been this is what they're saying, this is what they're saying, and then you can make your own decision. Who do you believe, right? We only hear one thing, and I mean, it's obvious now that it's pushed, it's manipulated, right? Like we saying this is gonna be like who dictates what should be in school? Why don't we learn how to garden? Why don't we learn how to fix a patch on the wall? Like it's stuff because like in China, like little kids learn how to broom, how to sweep. Little minimal stuff that you're gonna do for the rest of your life, right? But also that can embed work ethics, proper healthy habits. So
that's what we're getting into today, which I think is different, and we can end here, is where we've never had this type of communication before, where you can tell what you saw, I can tell what I saw, and then everybody can disseminate and say, oh, I agree with that, or whatever. That's why the big news media centers like CNN, Fox, ABC, they've gotten the least amount of views, and more TikToks and more YouTubers are getting the more views, because we're just going to show the article where we got the information from and you figure it out, or we'll show you the actual local news that covered the story and you figure it out, or we're going to show you this information and that information. I believe that this is true because of this, but it's on you, as opposed to the news saying this is what happened. Because
you're not going to see it on mainstream. You're only going to see, because all major news networks are controlled by the same people, right? And I think even politics are in bed together, right? Because there's a bigger agenda. I mean, there is a bigger agenda to control the masses. Like this is inevitable. Like we can't help but to
trusted the government.
Right, right.
Me neither.
Now, right now it's a topic of sensitivity to talk about the election and Trump and all that. But I think that seeing what Trump is doing and seeing that he's like a firm, old school kind of guy that's like kind of like a dad, like saying, okay, look, we're going to cut funding to this. Like we were giving $50 a week to the school. Now we're going to give 10. Okay, why? It makes sense, right? Like kind of like, because maybe 40 of those dollars weren't going to the school. It was going to the principal's pockets. Does that make sense? So in a way, it could be all a show too. Yeah. I'm open to the idea that it could be a show, right? But sometimes we have intuition. Sometimes we have a little sense or a little light that lights up. It's like, okay, this seems right. This seems wrong. Let's follow that more, And that's why going back to the podcast and the YouTubers, like we want to give you the information from both sides and then let you choose your own way, because it's kind of like, okay, don't just go off of this. But if you're like, okay, this is fact, but I'm just gonna blah 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 blah, then you're the problem, right?
You're the willful idiot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people where they'll just see a video on the internet and they're like, yep.
That's true.
Yeah. I've done it.
Yep.
But now I'm like, okay, let me do a little.
Yeah, because I've had to tell you, like, hold on, like, there's a lot of missing context here. Like, ask the right questions every time you get some information.
And we're improving as we go. We're learning, we're growing, and we want to bring you the best, entertainment and the best content. And
as the show progresses, the staff will progress. I definitely want to have more researched material as we talk about these things. But for now, it's off the hip, and it is just to have the conversation more than anything.
Yeah.
And when we can have facts ready available, we're gonna do that more. But
need to get some specialists in here.
Yeah, we will.
I'm a life.
But also we'll become specialists. That's the goal. That's the plan.
Get like some scientific people in here who, I don't know, spend their whole lives like researching, I don't know, space.
It's crazy though, because sometimes you can't even trust these guys because they've never left the school. They've never left.
Well, because they say
the professorhood.
What's
they've
the
never
saying?
actually been on the field.
Like scientists are. What do they call? I lost it. But it's like their proof is based on who's funding them.
Oh yeah.
like
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, like the medical, right? Like there is a lot that could be done naturally, but no doctor really will tell you that.
That's true.
Like
because they just want.
And it's in their.
Well, they've been trained.
Yeah.
Medicinals first.
Yeah.
No holistics.
Like pharmaceuticals, not nutraceuticals. Nutraceuticals. I don't know. Natural remedies.
Right that's so shady though.
Yeah. It is. Because it's like you're taking an oath. Like they take an oath to help people.
Do no harm.
And
and that's what we're trying to do. Do no harm.
Yeah.
But wake you up. So we're just gonna end on a happy little video. You can look on. Let's do the little the dancing.
Just to end on something lighthearted.
Stop all the doom scrolling.
All right.
Well, we can start with this one.
All right. Oh wait, was there another one?
Didn't you grab the family with the little hoot hoot?
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't transfer it over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then this will be on the state of the world today.
Yeah.
You see Hoover Street here. Officials say it's one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles. And now...
What just happened? Bruh.
No accountability.
And we did not know you got hit by a car. This video was not intended to be focused on your traumas.
No, it's okay.
That's the less spiritual world in a nutshell right there.
You know, just to kind of, because we are, you know, arts, comedy, like we are like that, you know, like we're lighthearted, you know, we like to take life serious, but also, you know, have fun with it, and you know, God has a good sense of humor, I believe. You know?
Oh yeah, somebody said that to me the other day too, because I went up to him, I was like, "Did you pray today?" And he was like, "Dang, like thanks for that." And I said something else, and he was just like, "Yeah, God has a sense of humor, doesn't he?" Yeah. I forgot what I said, but
yeah,
he said that.
It worked.
So.
It hit.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good vibes.
Anything you want to leave with the world?
You can find me online as Jade Weird.
Right here.
Jade Weird across the board.
Jade Weird.
Mm-hmm.
We're all weird. We like weird. Be weird.
But not the kind of weird that makes you want to, like, you know, get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Be like the happy, fun, go lucky kind.
Yeah, there is a big line.
No weird with kids.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah. That's a big one.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah, I just wanted to say comments, share your thoughts.
Like and subscribe, Ruffled Feathers Pod, YouTube, on Instagram. We're going to make it to TikTok and X eventually.
One day.
We're two old guys trying to figure shit out. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.